everyone. So I thought it might be kind of a good thing today to run through just some basic stuff to get you kind of started on melodic minor harmony. You know, so many of my students, when they start studying with me, they don't have much kind of experience of using any material from melodic minor harmony. And, you know, you're going to see in a lot of jazz standards and more sophisticated kind of tunes where the harmony is derived from melodic minor, whether you're looking at minor major 7 chords, Lydian dominant style, you know, dominant chords with a sharpened raised 11th in there, major 7 chords with a sharpened 5th, the altered scale, which gives you, you know, great possibilities for playing over dominant chords, have altered 5ths and altered 9s in the voicing. All of these things you can find in the melodic minor scale, so it's super useful. Now, one of the things I would recommend doing, and you can apply this to anything you're learning in terms of like a scale or a mode, is really learning from top to bottom on the instrument, all right? So what I'll do is, let's not do this in the key of C. This is another small thing that I think is an important point. You know, a lot of the time you can find you'll get kind of stuck on just playing everything in the key of C. I'm starting on C and never getting much further than that. So try and force yourself, especially get into the flat keys, you know, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and so on. And start on in F, for example, and just go up the cycle of fourths. So you start on F, B flat, E flat, and so on. You're going to find a lot of jazz standards are written mainly in deferral to horn players in flat keys. So, you know, you're more often than not going to see stuff in the keys of F, B flat, and E flat an awful lot of times, and less in G, D, A, and E, and so on, which are like guitar player friendly keys. Like in rock music, a lot of rock stuff is written in E and A and D and so on and G. But in a lot of jazz stuff, you're going to see it's not really that way. How many blues in F have you heard? A million. And blues in C, of course, too, but that flat keys. So let's start this, and we're going to do melodic minor, the F melodic minor scale. Now, the melodic minor, if you're new to this, there's two ways to think of it, especially if you've already got a little bit of major harmony in the modes under your belt. The melodic minor, the jazz melodic minor, which is the same form going up and down. Classical melodic minor goes up in the melodic minor form and down through a natural minor or what looks like an aeolian. We're not doing that. It's the jazz melodic minor, same up as down. You can think of it two ways. It's either a Dorian mode with a major 7 instead of the minor 7, or it's a major scale with a minor 3rd, right? So if you know what a major scale is, flatten the 3rd and the rest of it's going to be the same. So if it was F major, we'd go F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. F melodic minor, we flatten the 3rd. F, G, A flat. So we have a minor 3rd. B flat, C, D, E, F. And the same going down. Now, I also like making you do this stuff down here. Use the open string, because you have to here with that if you don't want to shift. So look, I go F, G, A flat, B flat, C, open D, E, F. Strive to get that pretty even. See what I mean? Now, so we've got a root, perfect 2nd, the minor 3rd, 4th, perfect 5th, a major or raised 6th, not like an aeolian or a harmonic minor. It's got that raised 6th, a D, and then the major 7. So you've got F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E, F. Now, the 7th chord we can derive from that is a minor with a major 7. It's a great sound. It's basically this. Very restless sounding, but it's actually a really cool sound. You heard that at the end of, like, you know, you kind of, some of those Raymond Chandler kind of murder mystery style films, you often hear like that kind of slightly unresolved sounding chord at the end of a sequence. Now, this is a really beautiful sound, and you can, of course, derive that from harmonic minor as well, which has a major 7. But this is hip to me, because if you start using the melodic minor over that sound, you get the raised 6th, the D in there too. Very cool. The second mode, which we're going to start on G. G, A flat, B flat, C. Now watch the fingering. D, pivot back to the E, F, G. Watch me come back down. G, F, E, D, C, B flat, A flat, G. Looks like a Dorian mode, doesn't it? But the 2nd degree is flattened. So this is called the Dorian flat 9 or flat 2. I prefer to call it flat 9 here. The 3rd mode is a really great one. Very interesting sound. This is the Lydian augmented scale. So it goes A flat, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A flat, root, second, major third, sharp 4, sharp 5, sixth, major 7, and the octave, right? So I get A flat Lydian augmented there. Wow. So far we've got F melodic minor, G Dorian flat 9, and the third mode, A flat Lydian augmented. Augmented because the fifth is raised or sharpened, and Lydian because the fourth is also raised. You've got a sharp 4 and a sharp 5 in this. Now, this is a beautiful sound. So if you see a chord like an A flat major 7 with a sharp 5, it's a very cool sound. You hear that? Some of those kind of cool ECM records like some Ralph Tanner, John Abercrombie. It's that sound. Oof, very nice, right? Very kind of open and a brightness to it, all right? Now, the fourth mode, very useful. The Lydian dominant mode. Now, it's a dominant scale, and Lydian, it has a raised fourth. Now, some people also call this a Mixolydian sharp 4, okay? More commonly, especially in the United States, it's referred to as a Lydian dominant, all right? So it's a Lydian scale with a flat 7, if you will, right? So it goes root, second, major third, sharp 4, 5, 6, flat on minor 7, octave. So we're starting on a B flat here, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A flat, B flat. Do it. Coming back down to, very important, do these descending too. B flat, A flat, G, F, E, D, C, B flat, all right? Now, one thing I want to also mention, I'm not using extended fingering for any of these, especially on that Lydian augmented one, the A flat Lydian augmented. Watch. Now, I should really go over this because it's important. Look. Fingering 2, 4, now 1 on the third, the C. Now, notice what I do. I pivot. I put my fourth on the D, right, the sharp 4, move back a fret to E, F, G, and then I can slide. Or I can slide from E up to F, G, A flat. And then coming back down, I'll slide with my first from the F to the E. Watch. A flat, G, F, E, D. Now I pivot the first, C, B flat, A flat. This is really important, and this is something, again, I teach to all my students, is that thing of when you're moving out of a position, one fret up or down the neck, right, depending on which way you look at it, you can use that pivot idea, the first to the fourth finger, right? This is really useful, okay? You can see I move back a fret and then back up, and it's really effortless. Now, you could, of course, do this with extended, but what I don't really like about that is if you're in the real world playing on a tune that has a major 7, sharp 5 in the progression, you're playing a vamp on this, and you're trying to stretch these giant jumps down here, like a major third on one string, your hand is going to get fatigued really fast, all right? Or if you're trying to walk, and I've watched people try and teach this online, where they're walking using extended fingering down here, and they crumble after 2 choruses of an F blues. And I'm like, yeah, but in the real world, which is what, you know, it's about, when you're playing, you could be playing that blues for 20 minutes if there's 4 horn players, right? So you better have the fingering sorted out. So this is like why I'm not using extended fingering for any of these at the moment. Now, you can further up the neck, but right now, learn them this way. I guarantee you're going to find this easier, really. Okay, so we did melodic minor, Dorian flat 9, Lydian augmented with that cool pivot idea, Lydian dominant off the fourth. Very useful mode. Those modes on 1, 3, and 4 right now, really useful. Fifth mode, so Mixolydian flat 13. So sure enough, it's a Mixolydian, but the 6th or the 13th is flattened by a half step. So in this case, it'll start on C. C, D, E, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. And back, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E, D, C. All right, one more time. Root, second, major third, fourth, fifth, flat 13 or flat 6, flat with minor 7, and then the octave, right? Now notice too, no extended, I just slide up with the pinky here, look. And then back down, I slide with the first back, look. So here's another little point. It's important, this one too. Small but really useful. On sliding up, generally I'll use the fourth, sometimes the first with melodic minor stuff. When you come back down, almost always I'll use the first finger, even if I'm playing like a one string kind of Victor Bailey-esque. See, that's all on one finger, right? Now, going up was a major scale or a Lydian major. See, I'm doing like tons of variations there, but generally speaking, that pinky, and I'll slow this way down. See, I'm sliding up with the pinky, coming back down, watch this. First slide, now I do a shift, now I can stay here or slide. See? So that fourth finger up is very useful to slide, and first finger down to slide, okay? Check that out. If you're not familiar with this, take your time with it, but I think you're going to find that really good. Okay, so that was Mixolydian flat 13. Good for dominant chords that have a flat 13, right? So if we go through the seventh chords, we'll take a little break and look at the sevenths here. Built off the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, we get this. Minor major 7, minor 7, major 7 sharp 5, or I like this fingering actually because no stretch. Look, A flat, C, E, G, right? So major, right? This is our major 7 sharp 5. A flat, C, E, G, G, E, C, A flat, right? Now, the fourth step, the Lydian dominant, and this, we get a dominant 7 here, so pretty familiar with that fingering, right? Root, third, fifth, major third, fifth, and then flat 7 or minor 7. And then this is also a dominant 7. That C Mixolydian flat 13 yields a straight 7th arpeggio, dominant 7. All right, so that was the first 5 steps, right? Okay? Make sure you do those. So run the mode and then run the arpeggios. Start kind of linking them together. It's really cool. All right, let's keep going. So the next one, really useful on this. This is the Locrian natural second, right, or natural 9. Now, this is built off the 6th degree of the melodic minor. So with F melodic minor, so the 6th degree is a D, right? So we get this. Sure enough, it's a Locrian with a natural second. D, E, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D. So in reverse, D, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E, D. Okay? Now, this is great for a D minor 7 flat 5. Thing about that is you have that E in there, the natural 9. It doesn't rub like the flat 9 does in the regular Locrian. So it kind of gives it a brighter sounding tonality, if I can use sort of analogy of color in this, right? So I always think that sounds very cool. Okay, let's look at the 7th arpeggio too for this 6th mode of F melodic minor, the D Locrian natural second or natural 9. So we get a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio here. Look, D, F, A flat, C, root, minor 3rd, flat 5, minor 7. We can do it here too. Look, D, F, A flat, C, root, minor 3rd, flat 5, minor 7, right? You could do this also with an alternate fingering. You could always try these alternate fingerings wherever they're appropriate. Check this out. It's kind of a cool way to play a minor 7 flat 5. I'm going to do it down here on the 5th fret because it's clearer to see. Look, D, F, A flat, C, root, minor 3rd, flat 5, minor 7. I like this fingering. Okay, 7th mode, and probably the most complex in one way and tricky fingering wise is the altered scale, and it's also sometimes referred to as the diminished whole tone scale because it's half of a whole tone and half of a diminished. But let's not worry about that right now. We will get into that though. So in F melodic minor. The 7th degree is an E, right? So it's going to be E altered. So, fingering for this. I'm going to show you two different fingerings for this one. Check it out. The first one is kind of more obvious one. Start with your first and immediately slide up to the second step. And now what you're doing is you're starting on E and you slide up to F, and lo and behold, you're basically playing F melodic minor. Right? You just started on the 7th and slid up. Look, E, F, G, A flat, B flat, pivot, C, D, E. See? See, I used a pivot here so I can get back a fret. Okay? E, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E. Alright, so the alto scale contains a root, flat 9, sharp 9, major 3rd, flat 5, sharp 5, minor 7, and octave, okay? This is a really good scale because it can cover you for scales where the 9th and the 5th is altered in the chord. Of course, a flat 5 could also be a sharp 11, don't forget that. So this is where the similarity to the beginning of a half-whole diminished comes in, because you have a root, flat 9, sharp 9, major 3rd. That's just like a half-whole diminished. Right? Now, the beauty of this scale is it covers you whether it's a sharp 9 and a flat 5, or a sharp 9, or flat 9, flat 5. Both 9ths are contained within there, and both 5ths, which is really cool. Of course, it could be written as a flat 9 and flat 13, which of course is the same note as a sharp 5, you see, right? But there's no natural 13 in this at all. There's no natural 6th in this, right? So that's the altered scale. Now, fingering-wise, check it out. You can either do that version here, where you slide up a fret and now you're playing the melodic minor parent scale effectively. Or, and I like this alternate one, check it out. Starting your 3rd finger, and this might be new even for some of you guys who've already studied this a bit. So I play E, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, watch this, pivot to D, up to E. Make sense? See what I mean? Really like that, right? Okay? So, that's the altered scale. Great for dominant chords. You often see those dominant chords written as, let's say, E7 alt, ALT, which is shorthand for altered. Now, that kind of leaves it open to interpretation, but generally what that will suggest, and often you'll see it in the melody, is the melody will contain an altered 9th in relation to the chord. So it might have an F in the melody sitting on top of that E7, or a G, the sharp 9, right? So flat 9 or sharp 9. Or it could have, for example, a C in there, the sharp 5, right? So this kind of covers you for that. So you can assume that the piano player, guitar player, whatever chordal instrument is comping, is going to be playing a dominant 7 chord where the 9 and the 5th should be both altered as extensions in the chord, right? So it covers you, which is great, regardless of whether the 9th is flat or sharp, or the 5th is flat or sharp. Any combination of those, if the 5th and the 9 is altered, this is a great choice for that, all right? Okay, let's look at the fingering for the 7th arpeggio that we build off this E, right? The alto scale, the 7th step of F melodic minor. Now, we get another minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio here if we structure this in diatonic thirds. Check it out. So we've got our E altered. Now, the arpeggio, E, G, B flat, D. It's another minor 7 flat 5. Do it here too. Remember the alternate fingering? I showed you on the D minor 7 flat 5. Now, this might be a bit confusing because you're going to go, well, hold on a second, it's an E altered which works on altered dominant chords, but the arpeggio is a minor 7 flat 5 which we normally associate with Locrian harmony. It's like, oh. Well, the reason why this gets a bit weird, and you'll see this in every harmony book, and they very rarely explain this, we're structuring this just going up in thirds. Now, if we want to get the full sound of the altered scale and sound of that altered dominant, we need to arpeggiate this 7th step of the melodic minor beyond that minor 7, the flat 7 there, the D. if we do that up to the 13th or the sharp 5, and it's going to be a flat 13 or a sharp 5th, right? Effectively on the top of that, we'll get the full sound. Check it out. I'll do it here so I don't have to shift so much. So that if I go E, G, B flat, D. Now I keep going up through the notes in the E altered. So the next step will be an F, the flat 9, right? And the next step will be an A flat or G sharp, the major third of E, right? And then the C will be the flat 13 or sharpened 5th, right? There's no natural 13 in this. Remember I said that. So now you get... Now you're starting to get the sound of that dominant, because now we've got the major third, but it's sitting on top here. See? We've actually put the sharp 9, the G, in the bottom of this. Now, this is to simplify playing these diatonic sevenths up through the melodic minor. And I very rarely see this kind of mentioned in books. You'll just see people write out, okay, the 6th step is a minor 7 flat 5, and so is the 7th step. And it's like, well, yeah, if you're just playing these as straightforward diatonic sevenths, but technically there's a bit of incompleteness to that, because it doesn't really give you the full picture of the alto scale, all right? So that's why you get these two minor 7 flat 5s adjacent to each other on the 6th and 7th step of melodic minor. But in reality, that 7th step is more typically used over an altered dominant, okay? Now, there's no reason why you can't arpeggiate through those notes over a dominant 7 chord that's altered, but you're not going to get the major third in there. And so you need to be aware of that if you were playing a supporting bass line, that you will be playing, if you play a G against an E7, and you play it low in the register, it might muddy the sound up because you're playing the sharp 9 in the low register. So what I tend to do is, when I'm playing through these arpeggios, arpeggiate them. Once you get comfortable with the basic 7s, start adding the extensions, and it becomes really crucial in melodic minor because you get all the color tones. Like in a Lydian dominant, that sharp 11 isn't obviously present in the root 3rd, 5th, or 7. You got to go 9, 11. Ah, there's that 11th, right? So if I was playing that B flat 7 off the 4th step of F melodic minor, and I go root 3rd, 5th, 7, right? I'm still not getting the Lydian sound yet. I have to go root 3rd, 5th, 7, 9. There's that sharp 11, the E. Now I might use a little extended there. When I do this extended though, here's another little tip for you. You don't need to keep that finger on the string as you stretch to that one. Move it, pivot, use that thumb, right? Watch as I pivot. I'm rocking back and forth as well. Okay? So, that's that little tip for that melodic minor idea on the 7th, rather the altered. Now from here. Now you get the sound of that altered. Now we're getting it, all right? Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good kind of idea of what I'm talking about. So there's all your 7th arpeggios covered now. So the next thing to do with these is to run these everywhere. Now, first of all, do it just in 1 octave, but look at some alternate fingerings where appropriate. Now, obviously, if you're down at the bottom of the neck, you're not going to do this with F because there's really only one practical fingering down here. However, if I was to play F melodic minor starting on the 13th fret of the E string, I could play it starting on my pinky. So here's an alternate fingering for you. And you can extrapolate from this ways to play a ton of different scales as well, using that little pivot shift I showed you, and starting on the pinky, for example. So look, I go F, G, A flat, B flat, C, and here's that pivot. 4th finger on the D gets me back to E, and then F. So notice I do that pivot in both directions, right, don't I? So I go F, G, A flat, B flat, C, pivot here on the D, then E, F, and then back F, E, D, pivot to C, B flat, A flat, G, F. I'll play that a little faster. I like that, you know, it's a perfectly good fingering, and often when I'm visualizing something, I might be seeing things different ways. That way round. You see, I started my line up here, and I started the line up here. Ended on the length there on the G, right, over this sound. Right. We could run this alternate finger idea. Here's G, Dorian, flat 9. I'm going to start this on my third. Why? Because it's got a flat 9. I don't want to start on my fourth. I have to move straight away, but I go like this. Look. G, A flat, B flat, C, pivot, D, E, F, G. Pivot. Pivot here. See, G, A flat, B flat with my first, C with my fourth, gets me back a fret to D, E, F, and now, see? I think it's a really smooth way of doing it. When you do it this way, look, it's not as smooth. You go, and then you have to go back from the third to the first. I'm not a fan of that. It doesn't seem very natural to me. So I'll often use this. Try it. See what you think. I think you'll find that helpful. Now, you can do that for all the modes. I would suggest you try that for yourself and see if you can figure that out. I'll give you one more, all right? Check it out. So that Lydian augmented, which is a bit of a tricky one. So we could also start on our pinky here. Now, you need, obviously, when you do these alternate fingerings, to complete it to the octave, you need 4 strings available. If you do these alternate fingerings, say, starting on this string, you'll do a shift, but that's fine. But you're just learning to see the fingerboard different ways. If I want to complete it to the octave, look, I only do a side step of 1 fret. A flat, B flat, pivot to C, D, E, F, G, A flat, right? So that's Lydian augmented. A flat, Lydian augmented. We'll go back down. A flat, G, F, E, D, C, pivot to B flat, A flat. I'll play this up and down, all right? And back down. Pivot here. And then another way to play it. This is what I showed you back here. Remember when I showed you this way and you do a little slide, pivot, and slide. It's good too, right? You could also play it this way here. But you're going to use 2 open strings. Learn it here. A flat, B flat, C, open D, E, F, open G, A flat, and back. A flat, open G, F, E, open D, C, B flat, A flat. So where possible when you're playing these, if you've got an open string, that isn't a bad thing at all. You're just learning it different ways. You might be at the bottom of the neck and you might like the sound of that open string. It might be something that you incorporate. Might be something in the line that you want to incorporate using an open string, you see. So be open to that, using an open string, all right? All right, so that was a brief discussion of the modes in the melodic minor. Next video, I'll go into a little bit more about how you use these on specific chords, but this is just like kind of a little kind of, primer, so you just kind of learn some decent fingerings for them, kind of get used to what they are, the names, how they're named, and like I said, work these through the cycle of fourths, but maybe don't start on C, start on F, or B flat, like dive into those flat keys. I know this from experience from teaching people, that people tend to shy away from flat keys on a stringed instrument. It just tends to be, because the strings are generally tuned, if it's regular tuning, we're tuned to sharp keys, right? Not flat keys. So definitely do that through the cycles. You start in F melodic minor, then B flat, learn all the modes in that. Don't shy away from the more challenging modes like the Lydian augmented, Lydian dominant. Get into those because they're a great sound to get into your playing, okay? And please like and subscribe. You can do the buy me a coffee thing. I'll put all this stuff in the description. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.